culture activist. And my only focus is using the instrumentality of motion picture to tell the African story. I'm speaking on changing the story. The narratives is same globally as far as Africa is concerned. Negativity, negativity, and more negativity, right? Africa, like somebody had asked me, are you sure it's the same God that created those other people that created Africa? Why? If you travel around the world, you are going to find that out. As far as the Europeans are concerned, as far as the Americans are concerned, there is one single narrative as far as Africa is concerned. And that is hunger, pestilence, and diseases, poverty, bad roads. In fact, trees and more trees and monkeys. Over the years, the African stories have been told by foreigners who most often than not present such stories with uncut bias. It then calls to question what could have necessitated this act of single narrative, which often present Africans as defeated species. When you look at foreign media, Africans are presented as poverty-stricken and aid-needing continent. The beauty of our heritage is shrouded in what seemed to me as a word conspiracy to undermine the potential of the African continent. These and many more crucible facts motivated me to making the movie Invasion 1897. I've told myself as a filmmaker globally that I will not die if 3 stories are not told by me filmically. One was the invasion of the Great Benin Empire in the year 1897. Before this movie was made, each time you go on Google and talk about the Benin in 1897, just one story you find. The Benin Massacre. The Benin Punitive Expedition. You know what is punitive expedition? A child has just misbehaved. The father brings a cane and flog nonsense out of the child. But there was one question that kept bothering me. And that question was, hello, Benin Massacre. Benin Punitive Expedition. Where did the event happen? And all finding was to the fact that it happened in Benin. Who massacred who? Some white men came to say hello to us, and we killed them. That is what you find on the internet. That is where the story starts and ends. And I said, no, this narrative cannot continue. So I told myself 3 stories I must make. One is this true story, unapologetically from my point of view as a Benin man. So we went into that to change this. Going back in time, getting documents, even from their own newspapers, that, hey, this particular event happened in Benin City, in my town. The white men were invaders. So if there was no invasion, there wouldn't have been a war. What were the invaders wanting to invade? The Invasion of 1897 is an epic-based film on the invasion of the Benin Kingdom by the British Empire in 1897 and the looting of the priceless ancient artifacts of the Benin Kingdom. Is that clear enough? There was an invasion, and I went back in time. There was plotting. They plotted. These guys are so rich. Before the advent of the white men to this part of the world, if you go back in history, you find that Benin was a very organized place. There was government in place. The roads were paved. There were street lights. It may not have been like this. Maybe if they have left us, we would have developed this by ourselves. Hello? They said the street was paved, written by a white man in 16 AD. Some Dutch man came to a city that was very organized. Street lights. The roads were paved. That is why today, all around the world, this city is touted to have the best road network in the whole world. Were built by us, by our ancestors. But these stories are never told. These stories are never told. You have to search and search and search Google, almost crushing it before you can find some particles of these stories. So as a filmmaker, I said, no, we have to tell this story. And this was an example of our interactions. Before they came, as far back as the 14th century, Oba Ewa, already Esige the Great, they already had interactions with the white people, citing an embassy in Portugal. So it wasn't new. These are facts that the Africans need to be embedded with so that you are confident to say, honestly, I'm not an endangered species as being presented. As was noticed earlier, the motivation to change the narrative of the African storytelling was born out of the passion to correct the seemingly wrong presentation of the African stories. A typical example is the deposition of the last king of Africa, Oduwa. The popular narrative has always been that the invasion of Benin by the colonial masters in 1897 is Admiral Sir Harry Rawson's response to the ambush of a previous British-led party under acting Consul General James Philip, which had left all but 2 men dead. Rawson's troop captured, burned, and looted Benin City, bringing to an end the West African kingdom of Benin. As a result, much of the country's stolen art, including Benin bronze, were relocated to Great Britain and several other places around the world. So when I made this film, it became an affront. We have our own side of the story. And not just having our own side of the story, it must be presented to them to hear, to see. So I took this particular production to the British Museum to be screened. Of course, it was not going to be an easy fight. They said the security report is very bad. They're going to screen every person that's going to come into the hall. But to the glory of God, we were able to stage this movie, our own version, to them. And it was a mixed audience. We did there. Them did there. This is our own side of the story, which before now has never been presented by anybody. And they sat. When the movie started, and our Royal Majesty, then a crown prince, came by himself as a special guest to be in that hall. It was a night of glory, where the story of the African man is being told by an African directly in front of these guys that has always told the African story their own way. Of course, some white persons ran out of the hall. They couldn't stand the reality. How bizarre, how unthinkable, how wicked their people were to us. Because we went back in time in presenting, something led to the reason why they came. They had always cited this stuff that they wanted here, that the place is a rich place. They have pepper. And this craft was amazing to them. So as far back 200 years ago, when you see the architectural work of art here, you'll be amazed the way the palaces were built. So we were not all together dons as been presented, always. So the movie Invasion 1897 afforded me the opportunity to re-narrate our own experience as Africans, to change the narrative of perpetually presenting Africans from a negative point of view. Where was the invasion? These were pertinent questions we needed to ask. Where was the invasion? Why did the invaders leave their country? What were they looking for in my country? So you see the reverse that has happened today. Before, they used to come to look for us. But sadly, they used to come to look for us because there was something here that they needed. Dunlop had developed a tire for bicycle. And the only place that were houses, the natural resources, where tires, the raw material can be found for them to advance their automobile, starting from bicycle, was in Benin. So they came to the West African swamp where they can get rubber because this place houses the best of it around the world. But today, the reverse is the case because we have been loaded with this narrative that we amount to nothing. We can give nothing. There's nothing available. That is why today we are now wanting to go to that side. Before, they used to come to that side. What went wrong? Why did they target punitive expedition? Let's punish them for what they did to us. As simple as that. Let us punish them for what they did to us. Did we commit any offense? No, you cannot visit us now. Is it by force? No, I don't need your friendship now. Is it by force? No, my handshake is forbidden at this point in time. Why not respect the way I want to live my life? There was a disagreement. But importantly, that narrative was here. That event happened here. The motivation for them to leave their home, because we had it here as a people, organized, well-fed, naturally, if you know what I mean, well-fed. God deposited everything we needed to have as human beings right here in our land. And they needed just that. That is why they came. You can answer that. Was the good people of Benin not living their lives peacefully before the British Empire came to desecrate our land? Weren't the Western storytellers implicating that the reintruders who came, cursed the war, stole our artifacts and placed them in their museum? Why are they not being condemned by the Western media as we speak today? Why is it that every time there's something wrong, always with the African man? Why is it that at every point in time, there is something they want to teach us? Of course, I'm not to talk politics. Reason we're advocating for, we are into cultural advocacy. There's so much within us that we have not tapped into. These affirmation questions give a sour taste in our mouth and has continued to yearn for answers. In answering some of them, I had to take the bull by its horn to make Invasion 1897, infusing our own bias and telling the story from the prism of a Benin man who feels that injustice has been meted on us and no one is willing to listen. My argument, therefore, is that if Benin Kingdom didn't travel to Britain, then one can interpret the British act as genocide. I presented my people as fearless men and women who fought gallantly with less sophisticated ammunition and was able to stand the gunpowder power of the British intruders with bows, with arrows, with machete. I therefore presented an alternative dialectics, which is true of our people. Our rich cultural learning was also shown to be sacred and cannot be sacrificed on the altar of Western encroachment. For very serious political and religious reasons, we won't go further. I am a Christian, don't get me wrong. I believe in true globalization. I believe in us exchanging what we have. You take what I have, you give me what you have with respect. We had our rules. We had our ways. The visitors coming should respect. Like when we go, Now, as young Africans, how do you want to be addressed? What is the story that you want to tell of yourself? How do you want to present your story as an African? How do you want to connect to other parts of the world? What are the things that you dump on the internet as it concerns Africa? These are salient questions as young people we need to answer. I feel the story of the African origination, the African life, can be represented to the world. The more beautiful thing you see about yourself, the more motivated you are. The more beautiful things you hear about yourself, the more energy that gets into you. The more beautiful thing you hear about your environment, the more energized you are to be part of that beauty. God bless you all.